Good morning. This is Daily Hebrew Declarations with Daniel Jedediah Cook, and I'm reading the declaration for today, January the 13th, 2021. The three Hebrew letters we're honoring today are Mem, Mem, and Shin. Along with those three living letters, we're also honoring the spirit of understanding and the spirit of might. The declaration today reads this: Let us be known for those walking and swimming in the double supply of heaven, becoming more and more like Yahweh, becoming what we behold. Choosing today to receive of the flames of Shin, to burn bright, lighting the way for the earth. Now, today's declaration begins talking about the two Mems. And that's the reason why Michelle opened it up with saying, let us be known for those walking and swimming in the double supply of heaven, becoming more and more like Yahweh, becoming what we behold. And it began to remind me about the place of the two waters, the waters above and the waters below. Because we know that waters have the ability to hold frequency and be able to allow frequency and sound to travel much further than it could in the air itself. And so as a result, the water itself is actually also affected by vibration. It's affected by frequency. It's affected by the movement. Now, that includes anything from the very surface of the water to the very depths of the water itself. Now, what does that mean? Well, many times when we look out over an ocean or we look out over a lake or a pond, or even a river, because rivers are moving, and so there's going to be a different reason for it having its ripples and the things that are on the river, depending upon the speed of the way that the river is flowing. But the fact remains that wind will pass over the top of the water and cause the water to vibrate or to have a frequency, and as a result, we see sometimes very, very little waves. But that's not the only place that water is affected, because when we're looking at it from the place of wind, really the only place that's affected is at the very surface. But yet deep down below in the depths of the water itself, there's also movement. You see, water is very similar to air in that the differences between heat and cold can also cause some movement within the water itself. So we have some temperature differences. Now, why am I saying all this? We're talking about a daily Hebrew declaration, right? Well, hold tight and I'll explain why. Because see, in this place of this movement on the inside of the water, it's not always something that we can see. It's not always something that we can detect. Now, sometimes we can get in the water, and I know down here in the south, in Mobile, I've been out in the Delta many times, and it's funny how sometimes you can actually feel a difference in the water. Sometimes the very bottom part of the water will be very, very cold, and the upper parts of the water would be a lot warmer. And there's something called a thermocline that's right between the two, particularly because here in the Delta, we also have another very, very unique aspect of how we've got what the salt water and the fresh water combining together in what's known as an estuary. And so now we even have a density difference. Now, why does all that matter? What are we talking about when we talk about Mem? Well, if we think about it from those perspectives, particularly with the way that the Delta is made and the fact that we have salt water coming in from the ocean and yet fresh water that's there as well as it's exiting its way out of the land and onto the water, then there is some unique differences and unique things that happen because of this. You see, every so often we have a thing called, here in the Mobile Bay, called Jubilee. I know, Jubilee, just like the same Jubilee, and it's aptly named for such, because when we think about the year of Jubilee from the Hebrew perspective, it's that time where all of the debts are paid, everything, slaves are set free, or bondservants are set free. All of those things are taking. Now, we're talking about in the Old Testament times when the slaves were set free. We are all free now. But in that place where all of this stuff is going on, there's a unique condition that happens where somehow a little bit of the oxygen comes out of the water. And when it does, many of the fish, many of the crabs will run themselves to shore and will sit up in the shallows in order to be able to get the oxygen they need to continue to survive. Well, as fishermen, boy, that is an opportune and beautiful time. You can walk down along the shores of the eastern shore and be able to pick up all the flounder, all the crab, all of these things all at one time. And I'm talking about massive amounts. So it's a bounty. It's a time where, because of our unique place, there is a jubilee where the land itself begins to cry out and give of itself for us to be able to have food and so on. So I know you're saying, like, now, how in the world does all that fit together when we're talking about the waters above and the waters below? Well, let's just look at it for just a moment with the two different densities of water that we're talking about. We have the saltwater fishes. We've seen even whales come into the Mobile Bay. A little bit rare, but we've seen some very unique things that have happened here in the Mobile Bay. We've actually also had dolphins that stay out there quite frequently. So we have the saltwater fishing that we can do, and the freshwater fishing that we can do. So I know it seems like a funny declaration day when I'm talking about it, but I'll be honest with you, I love to fish. That's one of my favorite things to do. But when we talk about the waters above and the waters below, we look at the bounty of the mixing of the two. We look at the place as the two operate together as one. You see, in the place where as we ascend into the heavenlies, as we are looking into the heavenlies, because of the fact that Yahweh has called us up here to see from this new perspective, then he gives us the ability to be able to look into heaven and then be able to declare it and bring it to the earth. Well, there's another part of that, because I believe that it's not just a matter of declaring it onto the earth. There has to be a resting place on the earth for the heaven to come down and have its place to rest. See, in that place of us realizing that we have an upper water and a lower water, just like the fire that I've been talking about over the last few days. I mentioned to you how the fire itself, when we look into the fire of a flame, there's two opposing forces that are going on constantly at the same time. That of rising up and having the light and glory of Yahweh shine forth in all of us, and that wanting to be completely with the Father, but yet at the same time desiring to be connected to the wick, because the wick and the wax or the soy or whatever is there or the oil that's causing there to the flame to be able to have its fuel is connected in that place. And so there's a drawing back down of knowing that we have something that we need to accomplish here on the earth. We are the mem, the waters below, crying out for the waters above as we begin to mix together with the waters above and become one. You see, just because there's two different layers to that water doesn't mean we're talking about different water. We're talking about the same water, the same thing that's crying out, the same place that's crying out. What we're seeing is the mixing of the two, just like the flame mixes together and there's a force above and a force below in crying out of the glory of Almighty Yahweh. You see, today I choose to receive of the flames of Shin, to burn bright, lighting the way for the earth. Why am I doing that? Well, because the glory of Almighty Yahweh, from the situations, from the very fuel of what goes here on the earth, the place of crying out when we see injustices, when we see things that need to change, or we just know that we ourselves have become the change. We have become more like him. We are looking into his face and becoming what we behold, and we are showing him on the earth. That flame represents the fullness of that. That flame is allowing the light of Almighty Yahweh to be shine forth into all the earth, so those who are in the darkness can come towards the light. You see, we are a city set upon a hill that cannot be hidden. As sons, this is who we are. In the midst of everything that's going on right now, we are becoming that light. We are that light. You know, I almost hate saying we are becoming, because it almost gives a future tense to it. No. We are the light right now. We are his light in the earth. Let us pull down any veils that we have put up or allowed a religion to put up around us. Let us pull down those veils so that there's no bushel over our flame. There is no bushel at all. Matter of fact, that flame can be seen throughout all of creation, and the glory of Almighty Yahweh shone forth into all the earth.